Hi, tribe. It's Airy Herbal. I'm here to talk to you about spiritual blockages. So I was on Tumblr and I was asking people what they wanted to hear, and someone said spiritual blockages, and it's so funny because when they said that, I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I realized I personally, at the time, and even still now, actually, am going through a spiritual blockage. And what does that mean? What does it mean to be going through a spiritual blockage? Um, First, you got to understand what spirituality is. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're religious. That's not necessarily the case, because a lot of people who are religious are not actually spiritual. A lot of religious people aren't deepening their personal spirituality. They're not reassessing how they're feeling, whether or not what they're feeling is part of a higher spirit. A lot of people are just going blindly on faith and not actually working on themselves, just saying, I have faith in this one thing, and then, just moving along with that thing without actually reassessing whether what they're doing is of God or a higher power. And that's really the difference between spirituality and religiousness. Religiousness is, being, just, having faith and believing in a higher power and putting your life on that higher power, depending on what it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like, something crazy, like a lot of people who are Christian will, believe in God and try to live a godly life, but aren't reassessing how their spirit is connected, whether or not their spirit is connecting with God, or whether their spirit is, connecting with the higher power that is God, or, your light that comes from God. There's a lot of stuff in this physical plane that we hold on to, that kind of separate our actual selves and our higher selves. So we have to come back to our actual selves, and spirituality is reconnecting with that higher self that is you, that is also connected to spirit or divine light or divine being, whatever you want to call it. Connecting ourselves back to that part of yourself is that was my husband. Connecting yourself to that part of yourself is the most important part of your spirituality. So when you're blocked in your spirituality, you aren't actually connecting with that higher self of yours. You could be low. You could, it could manifest in you just like lashing out at people, or it could manifest in you just not actually being here, because you're either way too high up here or you're just not here. You're just living your life, and it's really hard to connect with that spiritual self when you're connected in so many things in this modern world. If you are working, like me, I work at Starbucks. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to tell you that, but I work at Starbucks. And working at Starbucks is awesome. I actually really enjoy my job. I like people a lot. If you ever met me, you know how much I like people. I love people. And I actually really enjoy talking to people and the customers. And even when they're having an issue, I like fixing their issues. So that's something I like to do. I love working there, but it is a secular environment, even though I'm almost 100% sure that there are like 4 witches that work there with me. I know of one. I know one of them is a witch, because I asked, because I had a dream that they were, and they were. So I asked them, and they were. So anyway, that's not here nor there. When you're working in an environment where you're not living your purpose, you're not actually moving towards your spiritual purpose, but you're using that as a stepping stone to get where you want to go. Sometimes, in order to do a good job in your job, it's hard to focus on the other things, like, your herbalism for me, or connecting with your plants, or connecting with that higher spirit, or, finding yourself in a place where you can talk to yourself and reassess your spirit and connect and unite with your spirit. So you might come across, someone else's energy, and that might knock you off, and you might hold on to it. You don't know that you're doing it. Or you could just, just not be feeling a connection to your spirit. Personally, for me, I haven't been feeling a connection to that higher spirit. And because the person asked me to do this, I have been reassessing again and just connecting with that higher person, that higher me. I've been thinking, well, what does it mean to be blocked? What does it mean? Why do I feel blocked after she asked me that? And why didn't I notice that I was blocked? So, sometimes it's important to just reassess. That's the beauty of meditation. Meditation really helps people to reconnect with who they are and what they need to connect with, how to hear how to move forward in your life's path, because that's, in the end, that's what's going on. You're moving in your life's path, and every obstacle kind of knocks you around, but you have to be able to come back to your higher self so you can go back towards that path. And there's nothing wrong with doing something else that can help you get there. Like, you gotta live, you gotta eat, like, there's nothing wrong with working and stuff, but you gotta recognize that it may cause some blockages. It may cause some issues if you're not, just 100% on that path. You'll see all these people who are just super spiritual all the time, and obviously they're not always spiritual. It's just a picture, right? They'll post some spiritual thing, and it's just a picture, and no one's spiritual all the time. But if you have the time to be able to reassess yourself, you kind of come across as more spiritual most of the time, So, all right, so now that we understand what it means to be spiritually blocked or how it manifests, because the main thing you'll feel is this disconnection. And I'm not even sure if that's the right word to use, but you don't feel as if you're here, I guess, or you don't feel as if that part of you that's paying attention to, the spirits around you, the energies around you, you don't feel like you're connecting to that place. You feel like you've been kind of neglecting it in some way. You start to feel like, this isn't me. I'm not me right now, because you're disconnected. You're not united with who you were and who you are. So how do you fix that, right? How do you fix that once you get to that point? There are so many ways you could fix it, and it's all specific to you. Obviously, meditation and yoga is the one thing that everyone does so that they can reunite with their self, because of the whole unity with the higher self and the actual you. Which, by the way, side note, back to the chakra video, I'm not even sure if I actually said this, but one day I was driving and I was thinking about chakras, obviously, and it just hit me that if you are a ball of light, if you are an energy ball of light, then you would be made up of multiple colors, which translate to chakras. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to translate to exact same chakras, but it makes sense that the chakras would be separated that way, because your soul is literally a ball of light, and that ball of light, is made up of so many different things, and those different colors which shine through your aura. Doesn't that make sense, right? Anyway, that's not here or here, it's whatever. I was just thinking about it, and I've been meaning to tell people about it, and this is a good time to do it, because that part of you that shows up in your aura, aura readings are a really great way to know how to help yourself get back in unity, spiritually. And I'm not trying to sell anything or anything like that. I mean, obviously, if you want a reading from me, an aura reading from me, they're usually pretty cheap. They're like $5. $10 tops if you want like something like crazy, like I need a full spectrum how to fix my aura, like, but either way, if you can like look at yourself, which I've never actually tried it. I've never tried it. And look at your aura, you could easily see what might need to be fixed. If the chakras and stuff like that. Or you could feel it probably. It doesn't really matter. But that's a good way to assess what needs to be done in order to help you get back into unity with yourself, so that you can become one whole of the light that's inside you. Also, obviously, meditation and yoga. There is, you could dance. I know that's a weird thing, but dancing is a form of meditation. You are completely within yourself. You're moving freely, and you're allowing yourself to be expressive. And that is a form of meditation. That's a form of spirituality, as long as you're doing it spiritually. And it's not like, oh, this is my spiritual dance, and you're not actually, looking within. When you're moving and you're feeling what you need and stuff like that, as long as you're expressing what you need to express. And you can also go through and think about the things that you need and how you feel and what's going on with yourself, so that you can assess yourself and your life's path. So dancing is a great way. Writing, depending on what you need, a lot of things are really dependent on what's causing your separation. If you are not getting out your truth, like people aren't letting you say what you want to say, or you're afraid to say what you want to say, one of the biggest things that could help you is literally just, writing something down or creating art, something to express that thing you've been wanting to say, but you've been afraid to say it. Or just stop holding yourself back. Stop stopping yourself from saying what you need to say. If sex is one of the biggest issues for you, explore yourself sexually, understand yourself sexually, and that could literally be a form of getting back to your spirituality. Who knew, right? We always look at sex as such a bad thing, but sex is something that could be sacred if you want it to be sacred. So, give yourself some sacred masturbation time. There are so many things that you can do to bring yourself back into unity with yourself, but you would have to assess yourself spiritually in order to know where you need to do, what you need to get into. So another thing I like to do for my spiritual, because of how ingrained it is in our society, and I think a lot of people, they say that they like doing this, and that's fine. If you like putting makeup on, that's great, and it's fine. And I know you don't do it for men, and honestly, to be honest, I feel like most women put makeup on for women. Like, it's either competition or, not for competition, so someone else will like you. But I don't think it has anything to do with men either. But for me, personally, and because for me, this is how it works, I feel like for other people, it might work. For the people who are like me, it might work for them too. I go through these moments where I put makeup on my face, and then I start to get used to the makeup face, and I start to hate my real face. I'll be like, oh, you're so ugly. Oh, look at that blemish. Look at that thing that used to get covered up by the makeup. And it stops me from loving myself. And obviously that's going to sever myself from my higher self, because my higher self would never hurt me that way. It would never make me feel like I didn't like myself. Even though this is just a meat body, it would never make me feel bad about myself. So that's something of this world, this material world. And so I have to go through makeup cleanses. I have to go through days or months or whatever of just no makeup. And actually the last 3 videos I've done, I haven't had makeup on, don't have makeup on right now. I just have to go through these times where I'm not wearing makeup, because I need to love the face that I have. I need to love what I already have. I can't go through and I want to put makeup on because I just feel like it just for a little bit. I need to like it just for a little bit. And then when I take it off, I need to be able to like who I am without it, So for those of you who are afraid of what they look like without makeup, and I've seen a lot of people who think that they really need it and they really don't. Like, they're fine without it. Like, for those of you who are afraid of that, a makeup cleanse can help really well. I mean, you never know who might say, wow, you have a really nice smile, or you have really nice hair, and give you like a compliment. And it's because you're not wearing any makeup. I had one person come up to me and say, wow, you're not wearing any makeup, you're gorgeous. And I'm like, what? Thank you. It made me feel really good. And that could happen to you. You don't know, because you're too busy thinking that you're ugly because of your makeup. But other people, you don't have to do that. I'm not saying that you have to do that. Like, obviously everyone has their own thing, but it really helps me to do makeup cleanses. It helps me to have self-compassion and self-love that will help me, and it helps me bind with my higher self, because having self-love for yourself here in this plane allows you to connect with that person up there, because that person is all love. That person is completely made up of love and compassion and literally everything, to be honest. But it's not made of hate. Like, that's not part of it, you know. That comes from this world, that comes from this body, that comes from the ego, it comes from fear and all these other emotions that come from your ego, which needs to be binded with your higher self. So that's still you. It's not you, but you know, connecting with your higher self is so important because it's so easy to connect with the ego, and it's harder to connect with your higher self, and that unity is important. So I hope that was helpful. I feel like I was just kind of talking in circles a little bit. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Airy Herbal again, and I thank you so much for joining me here. I love you guys. Bye.